Other people's work. Other people's work.
Yeah.
Thematic.
You ready?
I'm not ready yet.
You're not ready yet? Okay. Anyone need one more minute? 2 more? You good?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Everyone got something to drink?
No. I go to potty.
Yeah. You gotta go potty? Go potty now then. You gonna hold it? Okay, it's only 25 minutes. Can you hold it for that long? You can go now. I can wait.
I left my toy at home.
Okay.
Can we turn around and go back?
All right. Hi, I'm Matt. I go by Brimstone. I don't have my notes pulled up either. I go by Brimstone online. Has everyone got a Jeopardy team for tonight? No? Yes? No?
Yeah.
It's gonna be great. You should be there.
Yeah.
Gosh, what time is Jeopardy tonight, Brimstone?
That's a great question. We should look on the schedule because I don't remember.
8 o'clock. Don't ever ask questions.
8 o'clock? It's a beautiful website too, might I add. Yep, so after dinner, after Alonka's talk about cryptos, we should be, I'm excited for that one this year.
Man, whoever put that together really knew what they were doing.
Thank you. Yep. 8 o'clock, Jeopardy, right here. You'll see me again. You'll see Steve too. Steve helped with Jeopardy. All right. I'm Matt. I said that already. Why did I do this talk? I struggle coming up with a talk idea every year. And as I'm sitting there typing into the local LLM, like trying to come up with talk ideas for things, I realized I should just talk about the thing that I did here, right? So how to brew your own AI slop at home. I'm going to talk about generating text and generating graphics. I've done a little bit with generating audio and generating video, but not really enough to talk about that yet. So you can catch me later. There's several other people I've talked to already that have done some for video generation and image generation at home too. So there's talk to people, like do that community thing. You can find my Mastodon here off the speaker page, which is here. But also here's a list of all the links I'm about to go through. Well, that one I guess is the list of all the links. So the other thing that I do local LLM or AI stuff for is mainly just making funny images, share them with friends and things.
What's that awful logo?
If you don't know this logo, you will, and once the marketing engine shows up. And then if you've been following the Freaknik Mastodon account, I made that one too. Somebody posted the screenshot from the net of the to-do list before the talk, and I was like, I can just change out those texts and things. So.
Don't forget your 2600 bag.
Right? No one forgot their 2600 bag, right? Cool. So if you're going to brew some slop, you need a list of ingredients, and you need a couple of recipes. So to talk about the ingredients first, what is an LLM? Right? So this isn't a talk about what LLMs are, because that could be a huge talk. I'm just going to say it's a large language model. It's basically a text prediction. It's like autocorrect, if you've ever used that on your phone. It's basically you start with something I like, and then it generates, based on what it knows, what it's been trained on, is what the next word or words are going to be in that set. And at some point it thinks it's done. So if you start off with I like, then the probability of you being next is roughly 38% based on the training data that went into this. If it's being, that could be next, like maybe I like being pumpkin was one of the words that went in there or something. So you can see the different weights there, and these different weights go into what we call a model. This language goes into the model, and we use a ton of training data to go into it. That was a large part. Everyone here now is an LLM expert. Congratulations. Let's see what else. We call the process of going from, not the training, but then getting the data back out, inference. So you'll see that come up as you're going through things is, what was your inference time? It's usually measured in tokens per second. because instead of actually words, like what this primitive example is doing, we use tokens instead, because there's just so much of the, at least the English language or other words even, other languages are made up of just combinations of smaller groups of characters instead. Those are called tokens. So it's the tokens per second is what that comes into play. So if I wanted to do LLM stuff at home, what would I use? There's one software called LM Studio. I haven't actually used this one, but I hear really good things about it. It works. It's MIT licensed. You can just download this, pull in one of those models, one of those sets of weights, and start asking it fun questions like, why is the sky blue, or whatever, for things. This is probably how I would, this is definitely how I would recommend people get started initially if they want to do local inference or local LLM things. You could run this on your, probably your laptop or your desktop at home if you already have this. I'll talk about how well you can run that here in a second, but it's a thing you can get started with right now if you wanted to. We're, 7 minutes in? That's it, you can walk out if you want. If you want to get fancy with it though, there is an option to serve it over the network, right? So if you got a machine that has more RAM or more GPUs, we'll talk about in a second, then you could just hit the button to serve this over the network, and then the other machines in your house could talk to it too, or like your phone could talk to it too. The way I do the LLM stuff though is with a tool called Ollama, also MIT licensed, and it's basically just an API server thing. It doesn't really have like a fancy GUI front end or anything. And then they have a, at the top there, if you click on models, you can get to a list of all the different models that you can just pull off their little registry. So I go to this page semi-frequently just to see what's new for if there's a new version of DeepSeek or this, that for models. Like when OpenAI announced that they did it. They opened their AI and published that somewhere. It showed up on Ollama within like 24 hours or so. And then inside Ollama, I can just say like, pull down this by name. I don't have to download it and unpack it or anything. It handles pulling all that down. The other neat thing here is that you can sort by capabilities. I'm only going to talk about generating images, but if you wanted to recognize things that are in images, like text or donuts or something, then you could sort at the top there. Hot dogs? Right, if you want to tell if something was a hot dog, I would sort by vision here and find one of these that has, like Qwen3VL here says it has vision capabilities. So you could pass it an image and say, is this hot dog or not? Other ways you could talk with Ollama is there's one app that I've used on the App Store. There's others as well. I've used this one and it works with my setup, so it'll probably work with your setup. There may be other ones too. This was just, I found it talk. I'm not really an iPhone guy, more of an Android guy. This one works well too, same kind of deal. It'll talk with your Ollama server. These will also talk with other things too. Ollama exports or provides an OpenAI compatible API thing as well. So anything that can talk OpenAI stuff can also probably, where you can control the server, you can talk with your Ollama instance too. Or OpenRouter was mentioned yesterday, real similar. If you want to have like a web interface of something like what ChatGPT gives you, or some of the other ones, OpenWebUI has been pretty solid for me. That's actually what I use most of the time. At home, I've got an Ollama server that then runs OpenWebUI, exposes that as well, and then it just talks locally on it to itself. OpenWebUI supports a whole bunch of different stuff now, but I can also just drag an image into it and say, is this hot dog? And it'll, with a vision model, it'll say, is or isn't. It'll give me some snarky answer, say like, I don't see any pictures here, what's going on?
Internet connectivity.
It's not the sausage you're looking for.
Not the sausage you're looking for. But if you're super cheap, there's another website here which just tracks open Ollama servers on the internet. Because it's all API driven and firewalls are hard. So you can see, I don't know how accurate any of this is, except that some of those do actually work. Yeah, they've got like a test button which fires off the command, and then here you can see what are the models available on the server and stuff, and then there's always Shodan. All right, so talk about images for a little bit. How do image? So with LLMs, I talked about how you give it like a text prompt and it predicts what the next thing is, what the next tokens are, what the next word is. With images, you don't quite do the same thing because there's no words. We do that with noise in a diffusion process. So you just start with random static and say, oh, I want it to make it look like a cat, like draw me a picture of a cat. And then each step pulls out more and more of that noise until it gets something that kind of looks cat-shaped. And what really helped me understand this is the training process goes in the opposite direction. They take a picture of a cat and they say, this is a picture of a cat, and then they add noise to it. And then they say, it's still a picture of a cat, and they add noise to it. And then still a picture of a cat, and they add noise to it. So what you end up doing at home all the time is the opposite process of just removing that image, removing that noise to get back to that something base image thing. So I thought that was cool. Seems inefficient. I guess. I don't know. I don't know how I would do it better. Seems cool. If you wanted to do this at home, one of the early tools was called Automatic 1111. Let's see. Early solution. It's AGPL v3, woo, licensed at least, but it's a ton of Python. And it ends up being runs in your web browser using some like Python make app b web tool libraries. Same kind of deal though. You give it image or you give it the text. This does the text to image process. It'll do other processes too, like an image to image, but I'm not going to get into that. But this is something you can run locally as well and talk with your graphics cards and things to then generate images. It has a bunch of different settings as well, a whole bunch of little toggles and things, but you haven't seen anything yet. The tool that I use most often is called Comfy, and it, again, it's GPL v2, but it gives you an interface that looks more like this, where it's a node-driven workflow where it's all the different little fuzzy things. Load the model with one node, then you can configure the text things with another node, and then all the other settings with another node. And you can make, I couldn't find, oddly enough, an easy example of some of the just crazy workflows you can do with loading an image or then extracting a face region and then doing other things with it. But you can get wacky setups with this. It's super powerful, but it's also a little complicated. It's learnable though. I believe in you. You can learn it. Not that hard. So for images, where do you find that training set, that model? We usually call them checkpoints though, when it comes in terms of images. Hugging Face is a pretty reasonable spot. You can also find text generation models on Hugging Face too, and then image models, either going text to image. I haven't played with any of the text to video or text to speech here though. The other fun website is Cividae. I guess it's Cividae. But it's got, again, you can find under the models tab there, they've got tons of checkpoints. They've got so much more too. Like I am just like touching the surface on this in this 25-minute starter talk and going. Tons of stuff to do there too. You can find, people will share their Comfy workflows as well here. Questions?
Yes. Can you combine multiple models inside of one environment, like the text to, or image to text, as well as, this is a picture of a model that's recognized on cats. Now, can you combine those two models to create an image of a specific Siberian cat holding a sign?
The question was, could you combine models? Something with, is it a cat or something that recognizes Siberian cat specifically? The way I would go about, yes. The way I would go about doing that though is either finding a model that knows how to just do Siberian cats, or one that if you give it the word, keyword Siberian, at least gets you most of the way there. Or there's a way you can basically hot patch checkpoints when they're loaded into memory called LoRa's. There's also Lycra's and something else. There's like 4 different ways to do it. And you can use that to get back to a Siberian cat easier from models that don't usually, that wouldn't get there quickly by themselves. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Anyway, Yeah, search for Siberian cats up here and you'll find something, I'm sure. But if you cheat and you want to do that now, you could just pull out your phone and sign up on Stableport. You don't even have to sign up on Stableport. They give you a free API key, which is all zeros. I played with this project for a little while, and it's, oh no! That one didn't load.
It looks like you have internet connectivity.
I know, right? Doing a lot. This one was like loading forever. It didn't. Here we go. Artbot is a web interface that interfaces with the AI Horde. It says it a little bit better that it's this nice like community network of GPUs where people have shared out their GPU resources to the AI Horde. And you can say like, give me a thing, and then it'll task that out to somebody's 4090 to hang it out in their university where they don't pay for power or anything, and then it'll generate the image and send it back to you. So you can do that. The recipe here is, you can do it right now. The API keys on the website. Have fun. Let's see, getting off the rails here. So if you want to get into running stuff, not just free, or if you want to get into running stuff locally, and you have a little bit of money to spend, one thing would be like, what do you buy? The thing that you want to look for, though, is what are the kinds of things that you want to run. Basically, you're looking at buying something for a GPU or repurposing a GPU that you may already have. The thing to look for is that the OpenAI model we talked about earlier will say that it comes in a couple of different sizes. There's a 14 gig size and a 65 gig size. Those sizes directly translate to the amount of VRAM space you need on a graphics card or a unified memory device. Because that whole model, well, you'll do the best if you can get that whole model loaded into your VRAM or into your unified memory. Ollama supports a layered approach where it can put some of the model into the graphics card and run through those layers quickly, and then the rest can be on the system memory, and you can run the rest through that, but it's a lot slower. So I would try to stick with models smaller than what you have available for VRAM or for unified memory. I like using the Quinn 3.1 model. The 14B one is pretty good for me if it's 9 gigs. What's your question?
I was just, as you were going over that, so what is the minimum you're looking at if I'm going to buy my own GPU just to do this stuff? Like, what's the minimum you would recommend to like be able to swap it out?
Yeah, great question. What's the minimum that I would want to look at for a GPU? I've got a 3060 with 12 gigs of VRAM. You could get by with an 8 gig VRAM card. Those are super popular. But like the Quinn 3 model here has like 9 gigs is the nice 14 billion parameter ones. The parameters I didn't mention are basically it's the amount of stuff in between that layer for the text generation. There's several different vertices there, but it's basically the number of things. Generally more is better. For that, if you had an 8 gig VRAM card, like they have an 8B model that's only 5 gigs and it would fit in that VRAM and it would be quick. It would go at the processing speed of your graphics card, then you wouldn't have to hit system memory.
Say I have two kind of over 8 gigs, can I run them in parallel?
If you have 2 cards, the way that works is it just splits up the model between the different cards, and it runs one card for that amount, and then it runs the next card for the rest of the model as it processes, because it arguably goes through like the whole model in a super generalized explanation. It runs through the whole model, just where it does it go. So a little bit on one card and then a little bit on the other card, then gives you the answer. Would be a super generalized way of how that works. So yeah, there's people that build like a tri or quad 4090 setup because the 4090 cards have like 24 gigs of RAM, and now you're sitting at like almost 100 gigs of VRAM or something. You can get the bigger models in there, but it crunches on one card and then the next card, then the next card, and then gives you the answer. So if you had two cards, like load them up. That's what it is. The other interesting thing with a multi-GPU system is you don't need a ton of PCI bandwidth either to do this, because you're shoving a whole bunch of data onto the card for that initial model load. But the actual processing, is real minimal for bandwidth. So you can get by with 1x PCI stuff or 2x PCI. It doesn't have to be, you just need the slots in the machine, really. You don't need like multiple 16x lanes or anything. So if you have a machine that does work in some form and you want to get into this, you can get a 3060 off eBay for less than $300, like $200 in some cases. Just keep an eye on the amount of VRAM that's there, because that's the kind of the thing you want to go for. Is more VRAM is more better. If you don't, then you just go on Craigslist and get like somebody's old gaming PC. This one, it comes with a 4090 with 24 gigs of VRAM. So like that's pretty solid to get going, and it looks pretty. I do all my stuff on Linux and Windows, because I've got a Windows work machine that does stuff. But nothing doesn't say you could do it as on a Mac Mini if you wanted to. Actually, the new ARM Macs with their unified memory model is pretty solid for getting that whole model into memory and going at a reasonable speed. This was literally just the first hit for like how do Mac Mini as Olama, and got articles there. But we want to talk more about prices too. I'm big into buying used and not buying new hardware, so you can get a refurbished Mac for a little over $2,000, maybe closer to $4,000, and you get the whole machine, and it's got, I think what did I select on this one, like 64 gigs of RAM? Yeah, 64 is what I selected for these. So that's an option if you've got a little bit more of a budget. If you have a lot more budget, NVIDIA released this piece, I guess. It's got 128 gigs of VRAM, $4,000, runs Ubuntu. I've actually heard a couple of people here have interactions with one, so that was cool to hear, talking with them. But yeah, it's same kind of deal. This is an interesting machine, for me at least, because I have noise constraints in my environment, right? That wife acceptance factor of like, you get a couple of GPUs spin up, like that makes some noise and makes some heat. Great in the winter, I just move it into her office, but then she's on calls and she doesn't like the noise that it's making, but the heat's fine. You know, so the Spark here comes in at like 170 watts or so, as opposed to, this is against a 4090 here that can go anywhere from 450 to 600 watts. And significantly quieter. But according to this guy's, you can't see it super well here though, but according to this guy's review of a 4090 versus the Spark's about a third the speed of a 4090. So what I said earlier, where it runs all on one card and then all on the next card and then all on the third card, you can have more GPUs, it'll give you more of that VRAM space, but the processing power isn't going to increase, right? You get one card and then the next. So with the Spark, it's the same, I guess, relative kind of deal in that you've got just that one ARM CPU that just runs for the same thing. But it's about the third the speed. I saw another benchmark that I can't quote right now. Well, I'll quote, but I can't cite. That said that the new 5070 cards have the same number of CUDA cores as the GTX Spark, or the DGX Spark. So, same speed-ish. And then if you want to get real weird, you can actually strap an eGPU to a Raspberry Pi. This guy did it, I don't know if you know Jeff, but it also works. It's low power, but it's just the GPU that's running. Not super fast though. To close out the talk here, I've been saying a whole lot about NVIDIA and I haven't said the other word, but OpenAI seems super interested in AMD chips and the AMD GPUs or something. So maybe we'll see more ROCm development here shortly. I think we're already starting to see some of it, more diversity, so you don't have to just buy NVIDIA or nothing, right? But according to this, they're not going away anytime soon. So that's my talk. Any other questions? What's up?
I wanted to serve multiple clients on a network concurrently. Is there a better solution than just queuing resources or queuing a request?
Ooh, if you wanted to serve multiple clients, multiple resources, kind of, I guess in like a small business type setup or something where it's not just like you hanging out. There's another project, let's see if the internet works. There's a neat project here called Light LLM, which is basically just like a router type format where you can talk to it, or you can talk to it over OpenAI or one of these like clients and say, do the thing for me, and then it then sorts out where it goes. You can also do neat restrictions on use the local LM first. I think you can say that if it's occupied though or busy, then go hit one of the public ones. Or something too, so that way you can do multiple of that, and then everyone gets their own API. Even though they're hitting the same OLAM instance on the back end, everyone gets their own API key. So you can control who gets to what instead. So this would be a layer to consider for that authorization type thing in between. Hey, what's up?
Did you put one of those LLMs on a public port to just steal people's data, or?
The question was, did I put one of those LLMs on a public port to steal people's data? No, I didn't.
Would that be a motivation for somebody in this room to also do that?
Yeah, there's numerous different ways how you could show up on Shodan or OLAM Monitor if you wanted to. There's, how do I want to answer this? You could open up a honeypot of some sort and use that to just observe the wild and woolly internet. Be careful about some of the model formats are just like pickled Python stuff though. Like, so there's code execution opportunities in some of those model formats. So careful with that when you do it, that someone doesn't come along and say like, oh, will you run this code for me? And you don't want to make code running as a service on your own honeypot. So keep an eye on that one. I think safe tensors is the best for staying, not securely, but I guess carefully managing the models and stuff. So the model can't execute anything for you, if that makes sense. Go with the hat.
You know what, I want to kind of adjust this because I have a thing I'm trying to get to. Are there ways to do that?
There are. If you wanted to adjust the weights inside of a model, are there ways to do it, was the question? Yes, I'm sure there is. There was a guy named Wizard something that would take a model that other people have produced and do alterations to it and then publish it on his Hugging Face. Wizard LZ or something, I'm botching this one. For the text generation stuff, yes. Definitely a way to do it. I'm not exactly sure though on that.
Fine-tuning.
Yeah, fine-tuning is the name of the process to look for more. Also, I know Olama supports LoRa's as well for text stuff, which I have not gotten into at all. I played with those in the Stable Diffusion, like I said earlier with the example of the Siberian cats. Like you can make a LoRa that just makes Siberian cats. But it doesn't know anything about trees. You couple that with another one, and now you can get a picture of a Siberian cat in a tree if you layer those together. So that might be what you want to go through. The guy in the back is telling me I'm out of time. So come find me if you have any more questions. Thanks for coming on my talk. See you at Jeopardy tonight.